Howdy, folks. Widgett Walls from needcoffee.com here. Back again for another Wayhomer review, first of 2019. And I've left the cinema, which is over there somewhere. I have returned here to my car, and I'm going to tell you about. I'll turn on this one too. Lighting and camera and everything else. I have returned here to the vehicle, and I'm going to drive home and attempt to give you a coherent film review with little to no preparation as usual. And today we're here to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, so the Sony animated Spider-Man movie. Synopsis is we join Miles Morales, who is our protagonist slash hero, and he's a normal kid with artistic sensibilities, you know, smart, creative, bright, all that good stuff. And he's going through changes, not necessarily puberty, even though that comes up a lot, but he is apparently won some ticket to go to a very prestigious academy instead of either middle school or high school. I don't know what age people do things at anymore. 14. They all look like college freshmen. They all look like they're 14. They need to just stop. Anyway, regardless, and they need to get off my lawn. So he's dealing with being in a new school where, you know, he's not the biggest fish in the pond intellectually. So he finds himself challenged, and so there's a lot of turmoil going on in his life. And add to that the fact that, well, there's a guy known as the Kingpin who is kind of like Vincent D'Onofrio, but in this film even bigger. And he has a plan that will, you know, hopefully give him what he wants, but possibly at the cost of, you know, New York City and a few million lives. And through the machinations of the Kingpin, Miles will come into contact with, well, Miles will become Spider-Man. That's not a spoiler. He doesn't start with the powers. He will become Spider-Man and meet a lot of other Spider-Men and women and other types of spider things along the way. And that's it. That's pretty much a synopsis. So here's the thing. I just want to say up front that I know I'm late coming to the Spider-Verse party, but I think it's good that I waited, because I have had a real difficulty trying to get my head around the fact that Spider-Ham, who I owned a copy of Marvel Tales, Tales #1, in which they introduced him. The idea that, I mean, to me, that is more crazy than there being an Infinity Gauntlet film. Let's just put it that way. So, you know, Rocket Raccoon blew my mind. Infinity Gauntlet blew my mind even more. Now Spider-Ham, I don't think I have a freaking mind left to blow. And some of you are probably nodding and saying we were way ahead of you on that wage. Anyway, so I was going into this with my mind already trying to get around the idea of what was going on. I know that this is based on, you know, an originally Ultimate Spider-Man, which became Miles. Lots of big Miles fans. I abandoned Ultimate Spider-Man after they killed off a supporting character in just like a offhanded way that really upset me. And I know they've probably brought them back and killed them off 3 times, and I'm assuming that the Spider-Verse comic book thing that this is sort of based on is still in canon. I don't know. It's Marvel, so anything is possible. Marvel, the motto is shocking death, just wait 6 months, it'll be over. And they'll be back. So yes, so I am familiar enough with, obviously, the Spider-Man mythos and enough of Miles, but not really the whole Spider-Verse thing, and the fact that somebody remembered Spider-Ham and brought him back. So there is a real problem with this film. And the problem is, it is so gorgeous. It's distracting. It's so well animated. It has so much going on, animation-wise, that it's hard to concentrate on, you know, the actual story. It reminds me of, you know, watching Finding Nemo for the first time. I had to tell myself, watch the story, we'll come back and look at the cool water effects a second time, which I did. So I'm probably gonna have to come back and watch this a second time just so I can drink in all of the fantastic animation effects and whatnot. So it's got that as a problem, yes, but it is kind of amazing in that you have different artistic styles. And I am not enough of an animation expert to, you know, be able to properly name them. I mean, you know, anime or whatever else, but I'm sure Dindrain could tell me it was some subtype of anime, you know, whatever. So I don't completely understand it all. But I do know that we were seeing a fantastic blend of different crazy animation styles, which complemented the main animation style, which was just great on its own. I could have been absolutely happy watching a film with just that going on, and been cool with it, because I thought it was great. But then you start bringing in all these other weird effects and animation styles, and it just becomes fantastic. And your friend of mine, Kim, told me about this, but it also has enough of the, and she was entirely right, as she normally is, has just enough of the comic book sensibility about it, with using you know, word panels and written out sound effects. You know, it's the sort of thing I wanted them to do with Thor, just so I could get some great Walt Simonson sound effects imposed over the live action film. But that's another story for another time. So the story is great. It makes bringing all of these characters on board makes sense. It comes up with a conceit for doing so that, again, adheres to the kind of comic book aesthetic and the comic book style that it's based on. You've got great voices. I mean, John Mulaney is Spider-Ham, great, inspired. Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, truly inspired. And I don't, because of course I don't prep for these, know the voice of, like, Miles. I know Haley Steinfeld was Gwen, but the guy playing Miles was great. All of the main cast members were great. And that's the thing. It is a film that has some real emotion to it, has some real moments that the cast is able to sell and the animation is able to sell, and yet there's a talking pig and you're totally fine with that, which is just bizarre. But they managed to pull that off, and they managed to make it feel organic, and they managed to bring in, even if you've never been introduced to the multiverse theory that DC and Marvel basically base everything off of, they introduce it in such a way, and it's such a not really subversive, because that implies like mischievous or something, but they work it into the story perfectly organically, so that you have the information that you need, so when all the weird stuff starts happening, you're prepped for it. which is important. So, so yeah, the cast, the animation, the script was great. The soundtrack was fantastic. I need to own it now. So, and here's what I'm really struggling with. I wasn't really a big fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield in the Amazing Spider-Man films. I thought he was great, and I think they nailed Peter Parker with Spider-Man Homecoming and Civil War, and I really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming, but this might be my favorite Spider-Man movie. I mean, it just might be, because it's really, really good. And like I said, it's because it is able to treat such an insane premise seriously and give it, you know, real world consequences, and costs to things, and not lose itself in moments of loss, if that makes any sense, because that's a very easy thing to do. And before I forget, because it just popped into my head, you want to talk about inspired casting, Lily Tomlin as Aunt May. Whoever did that, I want to buy them a drink of their choice. So, all in all, it's just a fantastic film that I need to see again, and then I need to own and see again. So, should you see it? Absolutely, you should see it. Everyone who I was talking to the other night, which was, oh, you gotta see it on the big screen, and I said, oh, I'm going to. They were completely right. And so you should do that, as big a screen as possible. And, okay, cup-wise, and just, this is a year where, you know, Black Panther is up for a Golden Globe, and so is a movie with Spider-Ham in it. The world's just getting crazier by the second. Anyway, cup-wise, I don't know. It is at least a 4.5, and I am so close to just saying screw it and giving it 5 cups, and I hardly ever do that because it bugs me when critics hand out their highest score like candy. But I'm really leaning that direction. So I will consider that while I edit this damn thing, and then you can look on the site to find out what my my verdict was. But it's that good, and I'm, you know, it might be my, you know, favorite animated superhero movie. It just might be. I don't know. I'm still processing it because, you know, I had a great time. And the animation was distracting. Kind of like when I saw The Raid 2. I actually complained to the director on Twitter that the cinematography was so gorgeous, it kept me from focusing on the ass kicking. So, you know, what can you do? So, there you have it. There's another Wayhomer review. Slightly coherent, but there was a lot going on in that film, and a lot to, and I just thought of something else. Great, fantastic Stan Lee cameo and tribute. Really kind of almost caught me by surprise. Very emotional because, you know, it's Stan freaking Lee. But anyway, so there's your Wayhomer. Thanks so much for watching. In 2019, we're going to attempt to get these out in a more regular fashion. Now that, you know, the meds are working. So, come see us on needcoffee.com for more of this insanity. And until next time, this is Widgett Walls saying bye. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure you stay to the end. I know you're probably trained to do that by now with any film that is Marvel related, but you'd be amazed at how many people just get up and walk out for 2 things. First, the lovely after credit sequence that I'm sure will excite a lot of people, and an amazing song that will warm the subcockle region of your heart. Okay, there you go.